Raptors down by 4. Fred up to Achua. Oh! Throw it down, baby! 2-point game. Should we do a shot before the post-game show to wake me up a bit? Sure. Let's try to get to, you know, the last video got to way over 75 likes. Let's get to 100 likes. Post-game show, the Raptors just played the Dallas Mavericks and lost 103-95 after a very positive first half. The Raptors fell apart a little bit in the second half. It had a little bit to do with the fact that the refs, in the third quarter in particular, I felt like the refs were really on one for the Dallas Mavericks. They were giving them a lot of calls. They were giving them a lot of really bailouts. But it also came down to the Dallas Mavericks really started to work out a rotation. They really started to work out the fact that Luka Doncic was getting doubled or finding the open man. And a lot of times, unfortunately, the open man was Tim Hardaway Jr., who exploded in the second half, and how the Dallas Mavericks earned this victory against the Raptors. Honestly, we played well for the most part, but it really did come apart. I would say like halfway through the third quarter onwards is where it kind of fell apart for the Raptors. So let's dive into a little bit of the stats early on. Let's just, get into the stats. Dallas Mavericks field goal percentage and Raptors field goal percentages were roughly the same, as you can see over here on the screen. Free throw percentages, the Raptors at 23, the Mavericks at 18. We didn't shoot the ball well from the free throw line. I don't like that we're at 69.6 there. Would have liked that was better. Rebound battle was similar. The turnovers, we had more. That's similar. Not a lot to really separate the teams in terms of these statistics here. When you look at the team stats in general, but if we go to the box score, I feel like you can really kind of see what went on. So I just want to say before the game, I made it a point. My Andrea Bargnani first overall pick, Primo Pasta recipe for success, was to neutralize Luka Doncic, try to make somebody else on the Dallas Mavericks beat you, and work the ball well in transition because our half-court offense is just not that good. Our half-court offense sucked for the third game in a row. We did not neutralize Luka Doncic, but also let somebody else beat us because Luka Doncic was great today. 11 for 24 from the field, but 27 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds, almost a triple-double. And we also let somebody else beat us because we left Tim Hardaway Jr. wide open for way too many threes. He had 25 points on 7 for 11 three-point shooting. What do you expect to happen when you let Tim Hardaway Jr. pull up like that on you? Whereas you go to the Raptors and, OG, 23 points on 9 for 15 shooting sounds great. But when you consider the fact that OG Anunoby had 20 points at halftime, you really start to see how the Raptors did fall asleep in the second half. And let's go to Scotty Barnes, who, suffered a left quad contusion in the second quarter. Didn't play a lot of that second quarter, but still got enough minutes to put up 17, 8, and 2. Van Vliet, again, I felt like, the efficiency was better from him tonight. 2 for 9 from 3. I do feel like even with 20 points, he has taken a lot of shots that he doesn't need to take. The 25 and 5 stat line looks good on paper, but a lot of the shots I didn't think he needed to take. Gary Trent struggled, 3 for 14 from the field tonight. A lot of inefficiency from the Raptors and just the bench. I just don't think the bench really offered us anything tonight. That was another problem for the Raptors when we had to stretch the bench. We had to really go to the bench because the refs, I'm going to be honest here, I don't want to blame the refs a lot here, but in the third quarter, the refs did give a lot of unnecessary fouls, which led to foul trouble for, in particular, Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby. Because of that, the foul trouble, the Raptors weren't allowed to play as aggressive as defense as they would have liked to. The best offense for the Raptors is a good defense. We weren't allowed to showcase that in the third quarter because of the foul trouble that we were suffering. And because of that, I think the Dallas Mavericks really got themselves involved in the game. But I think a lot of the game is going to come down to the fact that the Dallas Mavericks kind of figured out the rotation. It is kind of an occupational hazard for the Raptors with this aggressive rotation, very heavy rotation on defense. In these doubles. And when you have a guy like Luka Doncic who can do his thing like that, 27 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. It's occupational hazard that a guy with that court vision, when he gets doubled, is going to find the open man. The Dallas Mavericks were very, very patient in trying to find that extra pass. And the extra pass often found Tim Hardaway Jr. You got to learn your lesson. When Tim Hardaway's hitting threes, you got to go play some defense. He had 7 threes on 11 attempts. That's really inexcusable for the Raptors to allow. Luka Doncic was 2 for 10 from 3. The defense on him was quite good. Luka Doncic is going to be Luka Doncic, though. Let's be frank. But you got to do a lot better of a job to defend the other guys in the team. Because, if Luka Doncic is going to beat you, well, make sure nobody else does. And if you're not going to Luka Doncic beat you, sure, somebody else can. But, you got to stop Luka Doncic in the process. Some positives. Scotty Barnes looked good for the 3rd consecutive game. OG was finally hitting some shots. Fred VanVleet, I thought he was a bit better tonight than in previous games. I definitely think was better tonight than in previous games. But we're looking at another game where the Raptors' half-court offense was really struggling. And it's the 3rd game in a row where the half-court offense was struggling. In the 3rd quarter, the Dallas Mavericks really started to hit a ton of their three-pointers and a ton of their shots. And as the Dallas Mavericks started to get themselves involved and immersed within the game offensively, well, when they're hitting shots, you can't play in transition when you're not getting stops because they're hitting their buckets. So the Raptors in the first half were getting their stops. They only scored 103 points. So, we played fine in the first half defensively. In the game as a whole, defensively we're okay. But in the second half in particular, as the Dallas Mavericks were starting to get more of their shots, it forced us to play in the half court rather than in transition. And as we were playing in the half court, we just really had nothing to go to. We were missing a lot of our three-pointers. OG, Fred, and Gary, I think, were forcing up a little bit too much. Our bench didn't give us any favors. Chris Boucher off the bench. He's supposed to be that sort of scoring threat off the bench, and he was 0 for 5 from the field. So, things went wrong, but there was some things that went right today. The defense, if I had to give it as a whole, I felt like the defense was okay. The offense transition was good, but it's another game where the Raptors don't get to 100 points for the second time this season. So even though we've held teams to under 100 twice this season, we also got to get there ourselves. We got to get those points ourselves. So offensively, we really need to figure out what we're going to do in the half court while Pascal Siakam is missing. How can we get better? I think what we need to do is be a little bit more patient. I think the ball needs to move a little bit quicker because I think sometimes we just stick the ball in Fred's hands or Gary's hands, and it just seems to the opposition like they're just going to go and try to create their own shot, which is just not going to work, which is just straight up not going to work in a lot of situations. So you need to figure out how you're going to combat that. So extra pass, because in the first half I thought it was good, the half-court offense. We were running the extra pass. We weren't forcing up shots nearly as much. But I felt like we were forcing up a lot more of those shots in the second half. So look for the extra pass. If you're driving in and it's just not there, there's no problem in just circling back to the top of the perimeter and trying to work something else out. Credit to Dallas, though. Their defense isn't good, but they forced us to go to shot clock violations a lot of the time. And there's just a definitive lack of shot creation on this Toronto Raptors team. And I think that is going to be part of the problem for the Toronto Raptors. I think that's going to be part of the problem for the Raptors over the course of the season, especially while Pascal Siakam isn't here. Anybody who's a Pascal Siakam hater, I think you're really noticing that Pascal Siakam does need to return to the team for us to be more successful. I would really, really, really like to see how this team looks with Pascal Siakam kind of creating havoc in the half court, because at the moment, there's a lot of problems. There are a lot of problems. But 79 games remaining. A little bit of a concern that we still haven't quite figured out the half-court offense after 3 games. I will say it was much, much, much better today than in previous games, even though it wasn't quite as good. But there are things that do need to improve with this team. Scotty Barnes looks great. Another 17 points for him in the season. That's great. There's lots of things to like, but there's lots of things not to like, and in the end, I would like to see improvements on that front for the Raptors. But 79 games to go. We got 3 games in a row at home after today. We got Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're gonna be streaming for all of those. I enjoyed this game. I had a good time watching this game, and I felt like young player progression was good for this game. The loss kind of stings, but we will bounce back. We will be better as we progress through the season. So thank you guys so much for watching this. Let's try to get to, the last video got to way over 75 likes. Let's get to 100 100 likes on today's post-game show. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to watch these live, you want to watch the games live, make sure you're watching Amateur Hour Sports on Twitch. The link is in the description. And check out the main channel, Amateur Hour Sports, for Raptors-related content at least 4 days a week. Thank you so much. Shout out to the people who watched this live, and also, you know, not as big of a shout out, but I'll shout out you if you're watching this on Clips channel. And realistically, you know, if you're watching on the Twitch chat, you're an OG. All right, thank you guys. We will see you again next time for another post-game show. We got them coming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Cheers, everybody. Raptors will be okay. Don't worry.